right now it says ready. Welcome everyone to the Athena Pathways Transition into Tech. I'm Bethany Edmonds. I'm the Director of Computer Science and full teaching professor at Northeastern University. Our Vancouver campus is happy to sponsor this event. And today we have 4 amazing panelists that will be talking about their transition into technology and their roles. And then we'll have some of the local post-secondary institutions talk about their programs and how you can come into technology, and then some employers that are interested in hearing from you and meeting at the end. We'll have some breakout rooms to go into. So before we get started, the Northeastern University campus is very happy to be in this beautiful territory. We are planted on the unceded territory of the Coast Salish people in Vancouver. So that's the Tsleil-Waututh, the Musqueam, and the Squamish peoples. We are very fortunate to be on this land, and we appreciate the space. We're going to wait just, I think, maybe a minute or two for people to come in, as it is a new technology for most people. But then we'll get started in the panel. While we're going, I will be asking questions, but if you go on your right-hand side, you'll see under stage, there's a Q&A section. Please feel free to put any questions that you might have there, and I will pull from them to ask our panelists. So as our last panelist is joining us, can I start with Nicole? Can you introduce yourself, where you came from, and what it is that you do?
Sure. Well, hello, everyone. My name is Nicole Thomasetti, and I'm the Director of Talent Attraction for KPMG Canada. I joined KPMG right from university, obtained my CPA designation, and worked in audit, tax, and advisory. However, that was not my passion. My passion lied in human resources, and the opportunity came to combine my knowledge of the business, the CPA, and combine that with my passion. And that is what began my career as a business savvy talent attraction individual. And with the constant evolution of technology, we as a firm needed to stay ahead of the curve. And in December of 2019, we announced a $5 billion investment in technology to be focused on technology, people, and innovation. And so I am not tech savvy, but the world has forced me to become more tech savvy. So I am learning. And the reason we made this investment is our goal is to enhance our leadership position in the digital transformation of professional services. So as Director of Talent Attraction, I had to expand everything that we're doing to attract talent, not to be just audit, tax, and advisory, so business focused, but bring in a digital strategy where we're combining our technology focused individuals with our business individuals, and it's together on how we solve problems. And so that's why I'm here today, is to share more about KPMG and our digital strategy and what that means to you as students.
Thank you so much. Allison?
Hey, thanks for having me. So I'm Allison Hawley. I am the lead for our Asset Health division at Tech Resources. And I'm a mechanical engineer by trade, so by no means was I supposed to end up in technology. But when I first joined Tech, which is going to get confusing, but Tech the company, I was working in our real-time system. So, getting data off of our equipment and how we could leverage that to better detect failure and create better maintenance practices. And that's something that was supposed to just be really focused on the mechanical side of things, but I see an opportunity to really use much more modern technologies and start to pull from other industries. And so I got really involved in software, and here I am. And now I lead the program. So definitely an atypical route, but understanding what's out there and being able to leverage other industries and implementing and knowing how to implement technologies is really a skill set that was worth developing for me. So that's how I got here.
So much. Miriam?
Hello, everyone. It's a great pleasure to be here today and share some of our knowledge, experience, getting to this point. And I would say take an entrepreneurship from my side. I'm the CEO and co-founder of MedOptima. By training, I'm a computer scientist. My PhD was in medical imaging and computing science. I'm coming from both SFU and UBC families, so I belong to both. My computing science training was at UBC, at computing science program at SFU. The best time of my life. I enjoyed it really, and I want to do another PhD if I had not started the company. So I don't think you will hear this from many PhDs, but it was just an amazing time. I was also a CIHR scholar, and I had training at UBC dermatology, and I worked at BC Cancer Agency. So MedOptima, the company that we have today, is serving over I checked today, 1.6 million patients globally. And that has been a great, really pleasure to see that what you develop on the technology side, what you have in the research labs and the university programs is actually turning to be a product. It's turning to help many, many patients globally. So I'm really excited that I had the opportunity to combine my training in computing science and tech with my training in the medical side. So things, will happen if you know different disciplines. So that's actually how I ended up with technology. My undergrad was in hardware engineering. So it was like more on the engineering side, but my PhD was in machine learning and AI and image processing. So yeah, that's who I am and where we are. Happy to share more and answer the questions.
Fantastic. Alexandra?
For inviting me here. So I'm Alexandra Greenhill. I'm a physician. I still practice family practice. It was an emergency room doctor before, but how I got into tech was in high school. I used to play a lot of video games, and whenever they broke down, I had to figure out how to fix them. And so I kind of figured out computers and ended up self-teaching a little bit of BASIC and Pascal because it was just interesting. And then it turns out that university professors really valued this. And so I ended up doing large data set analysis, sort of self-taught using very rudimentary BASIC and Pascal sort of languages we don't use anymore, but they were the hot ones at the time. And then when I went through medical school and graduated, they were like, okay, hey, we have to computerize the hospital. Who here understands computers? And like literally no one else put their hand up. And I had just finished. So I was like the youngest member of the faculty. And I was like, I think I do. And so I ended up being in charge of some of these massive $100 million implementation of the first softwares across computers, across hospitals, then family physician offices, then in Quebec and Ontario nationally, then here in BC, building the first telehealth platform direct to patients back in 2012 called Medio, which we sold to QHR. And I'm leading Care Team Technologies now, digital platform based on the fact that everyone's built amazing tools but are not connected. And so we're trying to connect across and ensure that the patient knows what's supposed to happen, but the physician, physiotherapist, pharmacist, specialist, and everyone else is on the same page. And so I don't program anymore, and many people are thankful for that, but I understand enough of what the technology people around me are saying so that I can hire the right people on the team and help them troubleshoot and take my clinical knowledge as to what needs to happen and translate that into software that's easy to use for everyone.
And I'm actually going to put a question out to the audience, and Kelly has answered it already, but I'd love to know in the chat. So if you go over to stage, there's a chat, how many years you've been in tech. So are you new to it? Have you been here for a while? Kelly's been here on and off for 23 years. But we'd love to see kind of who's here and who's in our audience. And so while that's going, I just would love to ask the panelists, how did you know? It sounds like you landed all right. You're doing quite well in tech now, but how did you feel like it was the right way? It's kind of scary to go into that place, and it sounds like you can kind of tiptoe in, but how did you know it was right for you? Did you talk to somebody, encourage you? Miriam, do you want to go first on this one?
Sure. I actually just remembered a memory with one of my friends. I was not the best programmer and the best student in the class. I was the top student in mathematics and physics, but honestly not in programming. And I remember I was winning awards back to back, and my friend, he was like, why you win like all these awards? Like, and he was like very like direct. He was like, it should be me. Like, I'm better in programming. I'm this, I'm that. Like, I can. And I was like, you know what? It's not just that programming skill. There's a lot you need to be successful. And you know what? You will have a boss one day, and I will be the boss. And I was not joking. He was not. Like, we're really good friends. We are still, well connected. And he's in academia now. And I'm like, but that was really the moment I remembered many times. You don't have to be the top programmer. You don't have to be the best, developer or coder to be in tech. I have PhD in computing science, so of course I know how to program, and I wrote algorithms, but I wasn't the best programmer. So it shouldn't be discouraging me from moving ahead in my direction that I know I want to be there, just because I'm not the best programmer, right? So then you combine so many different things. You have your, people skills, you have your management skills, your problem-solving skills, your social skills, and many more things like teamwork, and there are different knowledge and expertise that you will bring to the table that will make you successful. So don't get discouraged if you're not A+ in any of your courses. Doesn't matter what is that course or what is the program. So that answer we reviewed a couple of times at different points together, because I kept winning awards, and he kept just complaining, why you win all these awards when I'm a better programmer. So yeah, that's just one example.
Okay, maybe I'll jump in, because I also I drifted into tech. Let's put it that way. So so my experience was a little bit different. I didn't pursue it actively, but it kind of happened over time. So it started little of like, hey, can you fix this spreadsheet? And then I became the spreadsheet person that everyone went to for Excel help, and it kind of grew from there. And eventually, the projects that I was asking to take on were like, we could solve this with a software. We could solve this by, building a better formula in an Excel. And I drifted over time into that space. And like Miriam said, I'm not a coder by any means. My focus is always more on the UX, but having a good understanding of technology and how it works in the background makes it easier to manage those programs and give people good advice on how to build UX, and kind of that balance between what's possible and what's practical.
Yeah, and if I can sort of maybe compare and contrast is I kind of drifted, but also I noticed the drift. I noticed a trend in my, efforts where technology became more and more prominent. And then I kind of said, there's a decision in time. Do I upskill my management and leadership skills and do an MBA, or do I pursue much more of a series of courses in tech that give me a foundation? Because so much of tech constantly changes, but it's so much easier to attach new knowledge if you have a framework, as opposed to a series of courses you've taken or blogs you've read that are kind of disconnected in your head. And so I decided to take the second route. And there was an article in Fast Company saying that if you stop reading about something for 3 years, you're completely out of date, because not only does the chip double in size in 18 months or more law, but the knowledge also dramatically changes. And so 3 years ago, no one was talking blockchain, or it was a marginal thing. Now it's mainstream. Same with AI, now with voice. And so I thought that, like, wait a second, if in 3 years you lose knowledge, why can't you become an expert in 3 years? Newton's law says for every action there's an opposite and equal reaction. And so if I start paying attention to something now, I could become top of the game in 3 years. And literally to the date, that's exactly what happened. Is I did my first hackathon in 2012. And in 2015, they were doing the Obama Global Entrepreneurship in Stanford, and they invited 700 startups from around the world to participate, and they invited me to be a mentor. There were 40 mentors for the event, and I was the only Canadian. And so literally 3 years to the date. And so I would encourage everyone to just set a goal, and jump in and learn. And I asked many people for questions. Many people were open, willing to take coffee, phone calls, provide advice, recommend courses. I almost never took a course unless I asked 2 or 3 people, did you like it? What did you learn? How was it? And really maximized the time investment in this, but it really paid off.
I love the fact that you won your hackathon. That is fantastic. Way to go. And for me, again, my introduction into tech is a much slower realization. And that's really because the landscape of our business changed. And what I would say is it was a very slow progression. So I remember like hiring software developers 10 years ago and researching what type of questions would I have to ask to make sure that this person actually knew their stuff. And then what I've noted is over the last 5 years, the number of roles at KPMG kept increasing where, computer science was a required for the role. Or as like what Allison was saying, it was like, okay, you know what? We have this big data dump. What do we do with it? So for me, it was a gradual. I need to actually start learning something different because knowledge is power. And the more I understand about these new client services, the better I can build a team that can attract talent into KPMG. And so now when we're doing our interviews, our recruiters are all tech savvy so that they can do a better job attracting people into KPMG and share the story that they're going to have in the learning and development. And as you start to see, like the courses we're now taking, like we're associated with different organizations so that we can become tech savvy in the organization and get micro credentials so that we are future proofing us as we go forward, because the digital is hitting every aspect of our business. And the evolution, as Alex just said, in 3 years from now, it's going to look very different than it is today. So you do need to keep learning and stay on top. So don't be afraid to learn, grasp it every time you can. And it's really about combining some of your passion with what that's going to look like from a technology perspective.
Thank you so much. So you got there. Why have you stayed? So what's exciting? So I'm hoping that most of the people are on the call because they're excited and they want to do it, but let's get them even more excited to actually take that little bit scary step. So what excites you about being in technology?
I'll start on this one because I get so excited about it. It's definitely been where my passion has lied since I started in mining. Mining is very archaic. We still have a lot that's done with pen and paper, which is probably just absurd to hear from some other industries. And I love it because you can make such big changes. You can take someone 20 years in the future with really simple implementation, and you can watch the business transform relatively quickly because there is so much room to grow. So that's what's kept me here. Is just I'm hooked on it now. I'm here for the digital transformation.
I mean, I think that healthcare may be the other antiquated domain on this. We still use faxes, and we consider that to be the modern fax, as in the improvement. But the opportunity to transform, and having seen this firsthand in my lived experience, is amazing. And what Miriam was saying is, you invent this, and it starts by 3 people use it, and then 10 people use it, and suddenly it's 1,000, and suddenly it's around the world, and it's millions. And you know that you contributed to something that will dramatically improve their quality of life. I mean, even simple little things like apps around workplace, like it doesn't have to be healthcare and world changing, but it like the satisfaction of being able to do one's job better, enjoy leisure, being able to do things that they couldn't do before. And the incredible access, like even with this COVID crisis, if we didn't have entertainment tools like Netflix and video to see friends and family, it would have been so much worse. And so we got very lucky that all of these technologies were ripe, and this crisis didn't hit 10 years ago, because we would have been much more challenging. And so in many ways, we need all kinds of people to contribute to this, everything from marketing to coding. And so the kind of contributions in tech could be driven from your past experience, but by adding that digital component to it, it becomes a superpower, and you can touch so many more lives.
Great, exactly. I share all of that with Alexandra on the medical tech and application side. And also, like for me personally, my training and PhD in computing science was like the technology piece. And then I had to learn a new discipline. I had to learn the medical side, the biology of skin cancer, dermatology. That was a lot of work. And when I graduated, I remember, so I had actually job offer from different big companies, and but I remember I was just telling myself that what happens to all that new training I had in dermatology? If I go work as a computer scientist for another company on AI or machine learning I had worked also on traffic control and computer vision applications before, but what happens to that like 3-4 years of hard work, new knowledge? So I had to really build something that I just don't hide the result of all of those hard research days and nights and staying awake and publishing results and research. So that was really the beginning that I realized I want to build something out of this. And when one of the awards that I won in the World Congress of Dermatology, the head of the committee told me, you are lucky to leave at this right time. I had this idea 28 years ago. I even started a company, but we failed because we're just too early. So you have the opportunity to make this happen. And I remember that. And I basically convinced Majid, my husband, also our CTO, who's also a PhD computer scientist in machine learning and AI and natural language processing, to join me to do this. I was like, look, this is the best use of our expertise. Let's make things happen. And nothing is more rewarding than learning from your doctors that your technology helped to find skin cancer early and the patient has a higher chance of survival. Like literally, this is the best. And it keeps you moving in the difficult days. So find something that, it's a purpose. So, because you will have many ups and downs, you want to be excited about what you do. If you have that purpose, it's going to really, really help in your difficult days.
That is so interesting. When you say like saving lives, and now I'm going to talk about what I'm saying, it feels a little bit different. But what I really love is the fact that it's people, technology, and innovation is making jobs better, because it's taking away what, Allison was saying, these archaic ways of. And so if you take away that, you actually get to spend more time doing, I want to say, fun, innovative things, more challenging. And, I've had the opportunity this year where I'm working with 2 different groups, and we're building bots to help us with our resume review. And so it's like going in and understanding that a bot can, 1, gather information, and then at RPA level 2, we're actually going to teach this to do something. And how exciting is that? And if you're working on a project like this, the only way you can actually add value is, it's not about just being like the business side of it, but Alex said you actually have to get in and understand, what are my software developers doing? How are we all talking together so that we can actually build a product that is going to almost like mimic a person, but do it better? And then when you're thinking about building a bot that's going to be thinking, how do you make sure that you're building out without having any systemic biases in it? And so the challenge of working with people, technology, and innovation, that's fantastic. And if I free up this time on this resume review, well, then the recruiters can actually spend more time meeting with people and understanding and bringing in that human touch to the recruiting process. So I think people find it very surprising as to how important someone with a tech background is and how many different ways you can bring it in to solving business problems or actually identifying business problems and then solving them.
Fascinating that the feedback that I'm hearing is it's about people, and you never hear that, right? Like go into tech because actually it's about helping people in different ways and improving our lives. And so I think maybe we should change our byline when you go for computer science, right? To be a little bit more.
And also what Miriam said, the impression everyone is that you have to be amazing at math and physics. It's very, very different. It's closer to language. So if you're good at languages, if you're good at logic, if you're good at learning, you'll be good at the computer stuff too.
And even just being good at the application side. You don't need to know like the basics of those, formulas, whatever you use for data analysis. But if you know how to use tools, I've seen even in marketing and sales, best performers are really good with digital marketing and using digital tools. In UX, in customer success, in anything that you can name today, you have data and you have digital tools. And if you really know what is the best in the market in your domain, you will bring that knowledge to the company that you build yourself or you're part of. And even that application knowledge, there are like many amazing programs like Tableau and many things. I know programming, but I will never program if I have Tableau to help me with my data visualization. Why I would spend so many hours programming myself, right? So then it's not about that basic understanding of programming coding, really. It's like languages are changing. I think we see my expectation for the next 5 years is that we will have very modular languages. We still actually have today, but we will have more. That you won't need even to program, really. It's just combining things to make things happen. So then that's the part that also, as Alexandra said, you don't have to be a programmer. You can be a very good digital inventor, very good digital application designer, very good UX designer, and many more like UI, design. I love design, and that's why I went to image processing and computer vision. It's interesting. Even from programming, I love that design and graphics part. 3D graphics was actually my second choice after medical imaging. So I see it like art. It's not really for me, it's not mathematics, it's art. Even dermatology is art.
Question from two people have similar questions. So I have feeling that we'll probably get 4 different answers from the 4 of you. So let's see. So one person is asking, how do you know the area of tech to specialize in? And the other one's saying, what are the technical skills that we need right now? And the examples they give are coding or computer science or user experience. So in your roles, what do you think is the sector, the specialization, or the skills that you see coming and in demand?
Maybe I can start us off, Bethany. One of my CTOs has a very interesting saying. Martin Popular said that everybody in the future should be T-shaped. And I was like, what is a T-shape? And he said basically is know a little bit about everything and then deep dive and be a specialist on something else. And it's a good tool because it helps you be effective in your job because you kind of understand everyone else's job and know on whom to call and when and how. But that deeper dive allows you to be an expert and recognize and be knowledgeable and competent at something that is hot and needed. But if suddenly that hot and needed area is no longer needed, it's easy to transfer to something else. And so people who become experts in only one dimension but don't follow anything else, there's a bit of a risk as technology changes that suddenly your language or your job's no longer a hot one of the hour. Right now, there's such a boom on everything tech that we need everybody. And so, we actively look to hire everything from software engineers to UX to quality assurance testing, user interaction, customer success, like everything is hot and in demand.
Yeah, I love that definition of a T-shaped because that was a similar direction, but much more eloquent. So understanding all of it a little bit, really helps, because as technology grows, and it's not just one programmer sitting in the back of the room anymore, it's cross-functional teams. There are a huge amount of people involved in single application, and someone that understands how all of the moving pieces works is going to be a better communicator in making sure that you understand the requirements for the next person in line. But yeah, really lean into your strengths. Like if you're trying to figure out which section is going to be for you, get a broad understanding, and that's going to help you figure out what you are actually good at and where you want to lean in your own skills. But there's demand for everything.
My additional suggestion, in addition to what Allison and Alex actually mentioned, is that do what you love. You'll learn much faster. I got my Canadian ski instructor certificate this winter because I love skiing so much that I went for 52 nights every night after work and ski to be able to pass that exam. So it means I really, really love doing that. And it doesn't matter how difficult it is, I'm gonna be good at it, right? Just pick what you really love to do. And then you will be good at it. You'll learn. And of course, you need to have dedication. You need to have a purpose, a goal, and imagine yourself like in that position and then work towards that. That's always like how I work. I visualize my destination. I always see the summit when I'm, hiking up, and I've decided to stop and enjoy the journey as well, not just like being, goal oriented. You need to enjoy the journey. But my point is that you make sure that you love what you do. And it should be the closest to your domain of expertise. You are expert in something that others are not. And you should find that in yourself. Do you like working with people? Do you like working with technology? Do you like working with numbers? Like, what is that?
Yeah. So I'm going to go completely opposite. JavaScript will hire you. But what I would say to people is taking advantage of information sessions, networking, women on tech sites, and looking at like the career paths individuals have taken, because you'll start to say, that is what I want and that's how I want to get there. So is it more strategic, implementation, technical, business? There are so many career paths, and you need to find what's your passion. For me, it was in human resources. So it was like, okay, I know this is my passion. How am I going to build a career in that area? And, tech is evolving. So it's like, I need to learn more about what this world of digital/tech means and how is that going to make me better at my job. And so take advantage of sessions like this, find your passion. And learning is a constant, and you're going to constantly have to learn as you go forward. So it really helps if you enjoy learning.
Into a question from you, from Melody, who actually said, it's going to be challenging and it looks like everything's shifting all the time. So she's asking, as you shifted toward tech, what was the most challenging part of that career shift?
Well, for me, it was just really scary, kind of like just, I'm going to be investing time and going in this direction. What does this really mean? And no one laughed. I'm like, is this a phase? But you just, with the fact that the world is constantly changing, and with COVID, we saw it like change in an accelerated passion or accelerated movement. Like, that's just the way it is, and you accept it, go with it, learn. And it's so easy to learn now that YouTube, the accessibility to learn, and a lot of organizations support learning in the jobs. So jump, do, go, and have fun doing it.
I also wanted to add that when you start and you say you're not necessarily really, really good at it, but you want to be good at it. For me, as someone with training in computing science, of course, perfectionists, we all are working with numbers and, publications, and like the academic world is totally different than business world. And then you learn new industry and a specialty like dermatology, and now you need to learn business. it was scary. Of course, it was scary. I didn't know really much about business. I didn't have that background, but yeah, I agree with Nicole. Find your passion, and then learning is gradual, so you'll get better at it. It's that mindset is really important. That is the backbone of your success. You build on top of that. You put these blocks. It's fine. 2 blocks will drop, and then you'll build, much faster. So that fighter, I think, personality and that passion to learn, and I think this is my new wisdom. I'm getting older maybe, but I've really learned that at the end, it's really about that internal happiness that you have with what you do. So if you know that you have taken the step that you should towards your goal, that's success. And you will do another one. And you get the reward internally. It doesn't matter what others say. It doesn't matter if you get an award or not. It doesn't matter really. Like all those little things compared to your internal happiness of what you do. So yeah, I think that it's scary. You start a new thing. You're not good at it, but that's the mindset that you need to have. Okay, I will be good at it.
I've got a little bit different of a take, or at least from my experience, different. So it might just be specific to us, but you either are the tidal wave or you're on the beach. Tech is changing, it's happening. You can either be part of the change or you can let it happen to you. And I want to be the tidal wave. So for me, it's not scary. I made that decision consciously, but it doesn't matter where you are. Digital transformation is always happening. It doesn't matter what type of job you are in, it's going to affect you. So it's going to be scary either way, I guess.
It would be, and I think
control if you're on the other side.
And I think that to piggyback on that it's less of a challenge that I experienced, but a frustration that there was such a lack of recognition of everything else you've done before. And there's such a sort of almost like an arrogance of the space of technology that we've just, and you're like, okay, so many of the skills are transferable if you were just able to remind people that AI is the evolution of statistics. And so if you've had some foundation in statistics, you will understand a lot of AI. And everyone's inventing AI. It's such a new science that, the experts are like 50 years into it. And so it's not like, centuries ahead or for you to catch up. And so it's this finding an inner boldness to recognize that even though you're a beginner in that tech space, you bring in useful information, baggage, life experience, knowledge, and it's important to recognize which parts are still relevant and you have to keep and grow, and which ones it's time to let go because it's not helpful. And the passion that Miriam talked about has to shine through because otherwise, part of this creative economy is we want people who are excited about new challenges and opportunities, even though they don't know much about them. And so we as a team would tackle something new and no one knows anything, but we're certain that by exploring, we will start to get more and more. And it takes that adventure growth mindset. I put in a link into the chat. If you don't know that book, you should get to know it because it's foundational for the next wave of technology. And something Nicole said is absolutely key. If you don't network, it's very hard to get a job. Like we get 100 applicants within a week of posting a job. And I don't have a chatbot to read through all the resumes. So the one that actually hooks me in and says something interesting about them, or they've seen a talk that I've given and ask for specific advice, so remind me how we've met. I sometimes interview them, and if they're good enough, they got the job. And so it's not fair to the 99 other ones who've applied, but it's just the reality of when you're in business and you just need somebody, and you know that they don't know, but you're going to have to train them anyway. So you're hiring them to be proactive, passionate, interested, dynamic, and fun to work with.
So in this space where we have challenges and we might be a little bit fearful and we're not real sure, what do? Who do you turn to? Is there somebody that you can kind of, a touchstone or something that you can go back to as you're going through this?
Time to plug the Athena Pathways Mentorship program.
I was going to talk about that as well. Thank you.
Go ahead, mentor.
Well, and so part of the reason why we put together the program together with the other companies on this panel and many others was the feedback that we continuously got that it's not enough to have training and opportunities and other things. It takes a little bit of a one-to-one conversation that personalizes some of the advice, works through some of the questions, gives you a direction that's unique to you as a person. And so I've had mentors helping me all along. It's my privilege now to help others on that journey to figure out what is the individual barriers that you face, how to overcome them, how to think differently about who you are and what assets you bring to the job, what jobs you should be applying, down to opening a door or two and sort of helping introduce somebody in particular. If you come from afar and you're an immigrant and you don't have knowledge here, how do you get yourself known? How do you apply? How do you change even your resume? Because our resume styles are different, and the style that you're sending out, it doesn't fit the mold. And so I would highly recommend mentorship. And it doesn't have to be a long program. It could also just be reaching out to somebody and saying, can we have a quick 20-minute Zoom call? It's even easier than coffee. You don't have to pay for a coffee. You can just schedule a session.
Well, I think what people will find is like people are very kind. You're like career centers, they can help mentor. You can link it in with someone and find out who at an organization could help you just, go forward, move forward, and get a role at that company. And so the networking is key. Mentorship, like if you can find someone to help you progress going forward, but professionally, but can also help you, with the personal side, bringing your whole self, because, as you move forward, and I think Miriam's been saying this throughout, is it's about bringing your whole self to work. It's about bringing passion to work and that ability to learn. Mentors are great at helping you with that. The networking events will help you get to know people. And then it's really about the constant learning. Make yourself, push yourself, move forward. And technology is changing. Learning is going to change. The landscape of business is going to change. And we all have different roles in playing in that area.
Yeah, I also wanted to add that depending on the stage you are, you will have different opportunities. If you are still in the school, I think honestly it's the best time to ask for help. That's a totally different spectrum compared to like you start a business now, like everything is professional. People expect to get paid for the advice that they offer, and of course for all the right reasons. But like when you're a student, it's totally different. You have access to your school resources, to your professors, to your different project teams. You have the best opportunity to find a co-founder if you're looking for a team. You have nothing really to lose, and I think that's a totally different, like, fresh mindset and fresh environment. That things grow much faster in terms of the support you get is totally different. So definitely use that opportunity before you start actually going to the work environment. You build that. I always say, I appreciate our social capital much, much more than our financial capital. When you start a new journey, when you start a new company, a new life, really, you don't have much in terms of financial investments that you can really put in that. But you have the social capital that will support you. One of my biggest chances, the best chance I have to my husband and my best friend Majid, was my PhD supervisor. She's a mentor that is really like an amazing person, like with a great personality that just wants to see her students succeed. And I was like, wow, I wish one day I will be like her. And that's still my goal. I don't think, like, if I go back to my academic world, probably I will fulfill some of those responsibilities I feel on myself. But that is really the case. Like, you will have a professor, you will have a mentor, you will have someone in the school program that is going to actually contribute to your future success. And also when you start, of course, looking for a job, then there are many programs. Athena Pathway is one of the amazing programs that I always say, For jobs in AI, which is the focus of this program, and technology, you don't need to be a programmer. So we hired for our AI positions with customer success and training using AI and automating training, for example, like just working with your clients in a new environment. That user experience is totally different, but there are very new positions to be defined for this industry that I think you can tap into. It's not just, again, programming. But yeah, I would say take advantage of your student life and the network that you have around you to support.
Yeah, and then the only thing I'll add, because I think everyone else did a great job of touching on the why mentors are important, but don't forget to pay it forward either. You know more than someone else, even if it's reaching out to, your high school and getting people into STEM, but getting into being a mentor early is, one, very rewarding, but also, the people younger than you or with different experience than you also need support as well. So remember that you're capable too.
So much. So, we're talking a lot about how to fulfill our passion. And one of the participants is asking, what if the field I like to study or dive into is different than the choices I currently have in my job?
Life is short. Make that move. It's me, so it could be totally different for the other. But yeah, I'm someone that, again, I won't get tired if I love what I do. So I would definitely make that change. And it's a healthy change, believe me.
It depends on the size of the organization. One of the conversations to have is don't assume that is not an option. So we just transferred somebody in our team from one role into another area because the initial area of training and desire was not what they wanted to do. And instead of having them leave, we're like, why don't we just see if a transition to another space for 2 months would work out, and it's working out. We have 2 pharmacists who've become software engineers on our team because after 5 years of working as a pharmacist, they were like, I'd like to help more than just one person at a time. And so don't think that all of the investment that you've done is for nothing. Switching gears can give you an opportunity to reuse that knowledge in a different way. Within the same organization or maybe in a new one. And there's so many courses now. Nicole, you mentioned micro skills. You don't have to take a full degree in AI in order to be given an opportunity in that space, because the expectation is that you can learn on the job and continue your education in parallel to working.
I'm going to say that as Northeastern University, I'm asking this question because it's in the chat, but also, Alex, you brought it up. And what the person's asking is, what are your thoughts about boot camps, BrainStation, Lighthouse, and Google certificates? Are employers becoming more accepting of these different learning paths? And I'm going to mute myself. So,
well, yes, we've hired so many people from these camps, and we hire somebody who's got a little bit of a foundation through these experiences and then willing to grow on the job, because that's exactly how you learn. And so you don't have to wait for a full degree. The full degree is also, but in the workplace, you can't tell the difference of somebody within 2 to 3 years. It's the experience and the willingness to continue learning that will distinguish the winners.
Alex said that really well. It's really about looking at the skills that an individual has learned and the skills that they can bring into the role. And so those skills are being taught, and individuals are learning them at different types of schools as they go forward. And then I think what's really neat is you take those skills, and then if you're working in an organization that pushes and believes in continual learning, you take that skill and then you can build on those as you go forward. Because again, business landscape is transforming. Organizations have to transform and support the education that is required.
Yeah, also, I think you can add the co-op programs, internship opportunities, and all similar short-term opportunities that you have. So when you have the experience in the workplace, which is very different than a boot camp or just doing a project on your own, that will be very valuable. That will help you with the next steps in your career as well. So yeah, we have also hired from boot camps, and actually one of our early employees, and then he started his business, and I'm an advisor to his business as well. So you can see like someone is starting learning new thing, working for a company, being with us for several years, and then starting his company. It's really all about taking those steps and just like moving ahead. So yeah, internships are also good opportunities, co-ops.
Awesome, thank you. So we're wrapping up-ish. So I want to make sure that everybody can hear your specific advice. If you have one piece of advice to give someone that's going into tech, and I'm going to tie that into a question in the Q&A, which is, you know, let's acknowledge that it is a male-dominated field. So there may be some additional advice that has to go from this wonderful all-female panel. But what's something that worked for you, or one piece of advice that you'd give someone coming into it?
So I'll give the piece of advice. I definitely don't be afraid of the all male dominated field. One, it's changing very quickly every day. It becomes more diverse, but it needs to continue getting more diverse, and not just from gender and sexuality and like the ones that stand out, but also different, you know, physical abilities and, you know, neurodiverse people, because technology doesn't become accessible and we don't build, you know, the next generation of, you know, let's use all the buzzwords, but we need to have more diversity before we'll have more inclusion. So, you know, you gotta play your part a little bit in building that future.
Yeah, and I think we accepted with your introduction, Bethany, that it's male dominated, so we cannot change the history. That's, you know, what we have, but we can change the future. And I always say, be the example. Be the example for others who say you cannot do it, and then just prove them wrong. It's actually it's very joyful to just look at them. Like my friend told me, why I was like, I could be your boss. It doesn't matter really. And it was just a joke. But every time I think about that strong statement, that didn't discourage me, just saying that why you are getting this or why you are doing this. And probably it was one of those very few students in that class. I think 3 in like 57 female students. Yeah, 3 in 57.
Nicole, do you have any advice?
Yeah, I'm just going to reemphasize the fact that it's really about making yourself go to networking events, apply for roles, and being forward. So attending an event like this and having a female mentor, and that's going to make sure that you're applying for roles. And then, as Allison said, you know, once you're in, give it back. And so then you've got this compounded growth of women in technology. So don't be afraid to take that opportunity and have someone help you.
Well, and building on some of that advice and feedback is women in any domain wait until they're at least 80% ready for a role, and often wait until they're past 100% ready for a role to apply. While men, based on research, somewhere around the 20% mark, they already in, because they realize that the job that they're applying in is an opportunity to grow into it. And I see it every day. I mentioned getting 100 applications. I love numbers, so I have trends on all of these things. But in the 100 applications we typically get, we would say something like minimum 3 years of experience in the workplace. And, you know, a third of the guys applying don't have 3 years, but they'll say, I have a year and this is how I plan to work hard and compensate. And we oftentimes actually have hired people who have less than the requirement based on the ambition, the drive, the excellence of everything else that they've demonstrated. Almost never get women applying this way for jobs. They always have to meet all of the requirements. And I see that in real life, not just in research studies. So don't wait until you're fully qualified. If you see a job for an organization that you like, apply for it and tell them why you're passionate to work in that place. Better yet, find somebody else who already works there, male or female, that's related to your second cousin if you have to. Like, it does not matter. But, what Nicole was saying, people are generous and they want to help. If you're genuinely interested and you say, I would like to work for tech or KPMG because of these reasons, people will hear you out. And sometimes we have people who just apply without a job. They're like, care team is the place where I'd like to work. I'm not sure if you're hiring for anything, but these are the skills that we have. And we've actually created a job for somebody out of, let's have a conversation and see what happens. And so the tech space is flexible, and all of these scenarios are not the exception. They're actually the norm.
We have one last question. Did everybody give advice? Oh, sorry, did I miss someone? Okay, cool. Which is, I think it's a question just for Alexandra and Miriam, but it is, can you speak about your experiences starting a health tech company? How hard was it, and how did you take the first step?
It was my first experience, so I know it was difficult, but I don't have any others to compare. And I think Alexandra's experience all in health tech, right? So I think it's just more sensitive. It's just I would say more difficult. Anything in health tech is difficult because technology adoption is slow. It's archaic. It's like mining. I agree with that. But for me, it was my first experience. I'm a technical CEO. I'm a female CEO, and immigrant CEO. So you can list all the difficult things on the paper, but at the end, it doesn't really matter because I always say it's like infinite plus something. Like, it's difficult, okay? You can list so many other problems, but at the end, if you really want to make that your future, and that's what you're passionate about, so you'll do that. But I know it's more difficult because you are dealing with patients and doctors and real-time access, and it's a different environment, and also all the regulations. So those are all the other things that will add to the difficulty.
I love that question. That actually, I have two companies that I've started that were not in healthcare, and one was a product, and the other one was a software service for direct to consumers. And I've advised about 50 companies who are not in healthcare versus a whole bunch more in healthcare. And the comparison that I would have is healthcare is like building for the space, on the moon, instead of building on Earth. Like, everything is fundamentally different and a little bit more complicated, and you have to account for things that just factors that don't exist when you're dealing with normal environments like the Earth. And so it's for the brave of hearts, but it is rewarding because at the end of the day, you're changing something that is material to everyone. I would recommend in any domain, go work for a startup for a little bit, learn from that experience, see what it's like firsthand, because if I'd known that, I wouldn't have sort of launched myself as a founder with my first venture, but I would have gone and gotten some experience from a team that's ambitious early, where you get to see what it's really like. And so I love the example that Miriam showed, that one of her early employees is now launching his own business. But that would be my recommendation is there's so much you don't know that you don't know at the beginning, that it helps to go through a year of learning, building someone else's idea before launching your own.
And just want to add one more thing, that on the positive side, if it is difficult, it means you have less competition. Honestly, because it's not like someone can come and just copy it overnight. Like, you've built that foundation, regulations, and all those difficult things will be protecting your business when you build it. So that's the positive side. So don't want to just talk about the difficulties, but also, all the strengths as well.
Well, and I think there's so much excitement with healthcare transformation that Alex and Miriam, like, what a fantastic industry you're in.
Thank you.
So I lie because you guys are being very succinct. I'm going to give you one last question. It'll be from Lara. What advice do you have for women trying to balance a new family and progressing in their career?
I need to learn that, so I will listen.
I was going to say the biggest piece of advice is you need to find a place that, either you're working with an employer or it's your company and you can bring your whole self to work. That means you're bringing your family to work. You're bringing everything to work, and you need to find a way to, build your work your way. Through COVID, we've seen everyone's family behind. And I think we're going into a very exciting time that the workplace is going to be more supportive for women specifically to move forward and have a family and still progress in their career. The stats have shown that women have, taken it much harder on their career progression through COVID because they've fallen back on the childcare aspect. That's when you look for a company that can help support you and help make sure that you can progress as a career and still have, your family around you.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much. Now it's time to move on to the educator portion. So hopefully you didn't all sign up for boot camps in the last 10 minutes, because we'd like to have the different post-secondary institutions come join us. Thank you so much for your time today, panelists. And I really appreciate everything that you're doing in the field, but also for your time giving back. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Bye-bye. And so next up, we'll be having Jackie Serenas from Northeastern University talking about her pathway, or Northeastern's pathway program in Vancouver. Jackie, are you here?
Huh? Oh, I'm here.
Welcome.
Hello. Hi, everybody. All right. Well, thank you very much. I know I only have 5 minutes, so I just want to make sure that everyone can see my screen. Is that right?
Yes, we can.
Fantastic. Thank you very much, Bethany. So as Bethany mentioned, I'm Jackie Serenas, and I'd like to talk to all of you today about the Aligned Master of Science in Computer Science program at Northeastern University in Vancouver. So that's me, the Director of West Coast Graduate Student Services. So I work across the West Coast campuses. And as you'll see in our next slide, you can see just what those campuses are. So this is the Global Campus Network at Northeastern. Northeastern is extremely unique and, in my opinion, quite amazing in the fact that we are a global network of campuses. As our president would like to say, we are, I think he coins the term, a global university in that case. And you can, I don't know if you can all see it, but we are all over North America, as well as in London now. So we have a huge network that we all utilize and we're all resources for, and being a part of this network is fantastic. And in my purview, I oversee Vancouver, Seattle, Silicon Valley, and San Francisco. And it's a lot of fun to be a part of such a huge network, and it certainly has a lot of resources that our students can take part in. This is also 100 years in experiential learning that we have together, being that Boston opened in 1898, and Vancouver campus is one of our newest campuses, recently opening in the spring semester or the beginning of 2020. We have over 3,300 corporate partners in 150 countries around the world, and we're also ranked 15th worldwide for computer science. There we go. All right, so the Aligned Master of Science in Computer Science Bridge program is essentially a program that allows any person with an undergraduate degree to come into computer science without a background at all. So we have students from over 100 different undergraduate disciplines. So they're coming from humanities, from business, from fine arts, from STEM field, other STEM fields like biology or chemistry. And they also come with diverse backgrounds and perspectives, which we really value. And we think that's also why our program is so accessible and so valuable, especially to many of our employer partners. And what we're also very proud of is having 49% of our program, nearly 50, basically 50, be women, which is absolutely fantastic. So I just wanted to highlight those pieces there. But also our program is designed to transition you into a tech career, an upper level tech career more specifically, as you will be getting your master's in computer science here. So we do that in different ways. One is our teaching approach. Others, it includes our experiential projects, also our co-op experience, which is our experiential education opportunities that we provide. And many of our students take up that opportunity for us to support you in your development and sponsor opportunities for you to interface with different employers and different partners in industry and work with them, which is great. We also have very robust job readiness programs and readiness preparation. And we also have a student services support system that I help oversee across the global campus network. So if there's an event that's happening in Boston, you have access to it. If there's an event happening in London, you will have access to it. And that's a part of being a part of the global network. And this is a simplified version of the curriculum. So we don't need to go into the details, but the Aligned Bridge courses are about 2 semesters. The 2 semesters are equivalent of 8 months. After that, you do 2 more semesters in your master's courses. Usually around that time, students are doing their courses, but also looking for their co-op or internship. And right after those 2 semesters, usually they land that co-op or internship. And I'll speak a little bit in the slides ahead about what internships those are. And then after that, you finish your program in your master's courses for another 2 semesters and you receive your degree. Usually this takes about 2.5 years on average, but it could be shorter or longer depending upon the length of your length in co-op or the length that you want to have in the program. Now, I would be remiss if I did not mention the fantastic faculty team that we do have because they are quite fantastical. So this is our inclusive teaching team. I will say one of the things that I love about our Vancouver campus is that we have a very unique team-based learning approach that is guided by research and best practices. So we are hands-on, deliberate in how we provide teaching. Also, since we're one of the newer campuses, we have the unique opportunity to have nice, small or intimate class sizes where you will know who is your classmates. You'll be in a class of 20 to no more than 40. And that really helps create a great cohort experience. In my opinion, being over 4 years here working at Northeastern University, it really makes the difference in the experience that you have, not only as a student getting your degree, but also as a person in this program with others that are also part of your network. Go ahead, Bethany.
I was just so I don't have music to play people off, and I know it's a very short period of time, but
so we got to wrap it up. Yes. So
yeah.
You got it. I will wrap this up. So here's our faculty research areas that we fall into. And also here are key industry partners. And as you can see, our students are at SAP Concur, Clio, RBC, Nextech. And these are the roles that they're getting. These are highlights that are making sure that they are prepared for this type of work at big companies like Facebook, being software engineers at Facebook, being a software developer at Microsoft, and lots of other big names. So if you want to connect with us, you can definitely attend our virtual event on June 21st. The link is here. We can also put it in the chat. Or you can connect with one of our student ambassadors, Summer Harris, whose information is here. Or you can stop by and say hello to us at the networking session at about 4:30. So Thank you so much. Have a great one.
Yeah, thank you.
Bye. Bye.
Talk about working with the family. So, and now we have Donna Turner from BCIT.
Hi everyone. Thanks, Bethany. That was a really great panel. I watched the whole thing and I got some really good tips as well. So I'm here as a program head and faculty member from BCIT Computing to give you a really high overview of some of our programs and how they can help transition you into tech. And I'm also going to be doing one of the sessions afterwards at 4:30 for more details and information. So mostly, although we have a number of programs, the one I'm going to talk mostly about today is the Cst Diploma. Cst stands for Computer Systems Technology. And it's our largest and most popular program. It's a 2-year diploma. And afterwards, our graduates are fairly in high demand as overall software developers in the tech industry. You don't need any prior computing experience to apply for the Cst Diploma. The entry requirements mostly focus on math and English for the logic and for, as one of the panelists mentioned, the language part of it. We take in 150 students twice a year, so every September and every January. And we are also in a small cohort model where you're with one set of max 25 students. And it's very applied, hands-on learning, mostly focused on your cohorts and smaller labs. Optional things about our program are our options or specialties, where you can take a few specialized courses in year 2. We also have an optional co-op program. And for those that choose not to do co-op, we have 2 rounds of industry-sponsored projects that are mandatory. So every student in our program goes through 2 rounds of industry-sponsored projects where you're working with someone who's actually in industry as your customer. So after the diploma, you can graduate and enter the working world. And then you also can ladder into our Bachelor of Technology. So you can do 2 more years full-time, or you can take up to 7 years part-time. Part-time Bachelor of Technology is actually the majority of our students. So students are entered the working world and they're starting to make money. And on the side, they're taking maybe 2 or 3 night courses a term and getting their bachelor's that way. So full-time and part-time studies is offered for both the Cst Diploma and the Cst Bachelor of Technology program. And there's also other ones. You know, we have a full stack web dev diploma. We have a C information technology diploma, and we have a lot of smaller associate credentials through part-time studies as well. I forgot to time myself, but that's basically all I wanted to say. I hope I'm in the 5 minutes, and also I'll be available to you in the session afterwards. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Bye. Sorry, my son is here with us.
Hi.
Next up is Fred Popovich from SFU. Are you here, Fred?
Okay, it's letting me in now, so thanks very much. Can you see me?
Fred, I can't hear you, but I also seem to be frozen. So
okay.
I can see you.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Okay, they can hear you.
Okay, good. Okay, great stuff. Thanks very much, everyone. And I will try to see if I can share my screen here. It was not working the last time I tried, but we'll see if it works this time. And my prediction is it's probably not going to work this time. But anyway, so what I wanted to do is tell you about, we have a range of programs at Simon Fraser University. I've been a professor there for many years. And one of the programs I wanted to tell you about is, because it fits in with so much with what we've been talking about today, is the professional MSc in computer science, which is the big data concentration we have. So this one, the reason I'm always excited about it is I was one of the key people behind the launching of the program. It was launched back in 2014 as a challenging program ideal for people with a strong aptitude and people basically with more technical or scientific background. So like some of the programs where you've heard about today already were for people from a wide range of backgrounds. This is for background. If you have some technical or scientific experience in that, it's really designed nicely for you there. And what's interesting about it is not only is it very focused in terms of a master's program for being 16 to 20 months long. So like that in SFU semester time, we work on a semester system that's 4 to 5 semesters long. Inside that 4 to 5 semesters is included paid co-op. So you have paid co-op, mandatory paid co-op terms. And in terms of that, it's never a problem for, hey, guess what? Vancouver's a hot place for a lot of things in this area. So it's never a problem with placing you in those kind of programs. And that what's also exciting about the program is the way that it really has a lot of hands-on lab courses where you get to work on real data, real problems, and try to get insights from data, getting value from data. And as some of you know, I'm also, aside from being a professor in computing science, I'm scientific director of SFU's Big Data Initiative, and I'm always taking a look at how we can get more value out of data. And there's just so many opportunities for that out there in the market right now. What's also exciting about this program is, well, we always know that in computing science, there's been women have been underrepresented in terms of this. We've really made big steps in overcoming that. Right now, 4 out of every 10 graduates of our professional master's program are women. So we're going in the right direction on that in terms of that. And what's also exciting is we've now been, this wasn't there when I first started the program, but it was great to see it come along, that there are now scholarships of up to $30,000 each that are offered annually with a preference to female and domestic applicants in terms of that. So our graduates are well prepared for roles as data scientists, programmers, data solution architects, chief data officers capable of doing all sorts of great strategic decision making. And what's nice about the program, it's delivered by SFU School of Computing Science, which is home. Actually, I think there was a new offer. I was going to say home to 68 top-notch researchers and instructors. But right now, I think we're up to 69 from the most recent person adding on today. Computer vision, computer graphics, machine learning, AI, database systems, data mining, and more. So in terms of that, it's a great environment there. It's delivered out of Burnaby Mountain campus in terms of that. But as in the past year, guess what? A lot of the courses were delivered online. No surprise there. And what's really great about this program is that a lot of the people that end up going through it, doing a range of work on a wide range of activities in the curriculum, it's a very robust curriculum. You get a great networking aspect coming out of it. And what's nice is it's able to leverage all of the key things that computing science has as such a large unit at Simon Fraser University, able to do a lot of things with leveraging it with other programs where you're even able to take, options in areas that, with people that are in maybe the thesis master's program or even PhD students, or even leveraging a lot of the undergraduate programs that we have in place as well. So participating in some people with some events with them. So I think I've hit my 5 minutes as I've seen here, and I'm really looking forward to talking with you more. I'm going to be joined by Dora and Jesse afterwards at 4:30, where you can hear not only about the professional master's program, but the other programs as well. So thanks very much, everyone.
Hello, you see the wrong camera, which is fascinating. That's out my window, so I guess
you've turned into a tree.
I'll fix that after UBC gets to speak. So we're next up is Donald Acton from UBC.
All right, thank you. So I'm going to give my shot at trying to share here. Let's see. And it's probably going to get a little bit trippy for a sec. There we go. Okay, so as Bethany said, I'm Donald Acton from the Department of Computer Science at the University of British Columbia, and I'm currently the acting director of the BCS program, and that's the Bachelor of Computer Science program. So I'm just going to give you a little bit about what this program is all about. So it's a second degree program, and you already have to have a bachelor's degree before you can enter this program. It's 20 months long. That does not include any extra time you might take if you want to take additional courses or if you want to participate in our co-op program. So for example, if you just sort of did the basic BCS program, you'd be in there for 20 months. You'd say, for example, start in September 2021 and you'd finish in May 2023. Okay. Who's interested in this program, or who do we target it at? Well, typically we see a lot of new graduates. So for example, maybe they went through a program in our university. They don't have to have, but they've gone through some program, and partway through their program, maybe they took a computer science course and they loved it. Or they saw applications where they said, hey, if I knew more about computer science, I could really leverage my new degree that I'm about to get. And so we get a large number of students like that. We also get a number of people who have been out working for a couple years, and what they observe in the workplace is that I could be a lot more productive, I could contribute more to my organization if I knew a lot more about computer science. And so they're interested in coming back and getting some of that foundational knowledge. And then of course, we've seen a lot of these this past year, people who just want to change careers. And by this past year, what I'm meaning is they suddenly discover that, hey, because of COVID, my job disappeared, but there are all of these people in computer science and stuff like that. They're continuing to work from home. They're continuing to do things. I've always sort of been interested in computer science. Maybe I should use this as an opportunity to switch careers. So we're seeing that this year, although in general, people switch as well. Okay. Just to give you a hint of what our student population looks like and the size of our program, we have about 300 students enrolled at any one time. About 45% of those people identify themselves as women. Sometimes it's a little more than that. Sometimes it's a little less. We've had years where it's been over 50%. As is typical with the UBC population, 20 to 25% of our BCS students are international students. And if we look at the backgrounds of where they're coming from, typically 40 to 45% come from a field of science, and then the rest, roughly speaking, are evenly distributed across things like commerce and business administration, arts and engineering, and of course we always have some people that are just sort of don't come in any of those particular categories. So we have a very diverse group of people, and what we want to try and do is create this cohort that goes through, and we can also sort of see from the age here how it kind of works out. So if we look at the bottom one here, it's less than 25 years of age. So that's typically someone who's coming straight out of their degree or maybe worked for a couple of years. And then these other ones are people who have been working for a while and have decided that computer science is their calling. I also just want to highlight what you would study or how our program maybe is different from a regular computer science degree. And I guess what I really want to point out is, well, it's not that different. The way it's different is in some of the foundational courses that you have to take when you're in the BCS program, as opposed to when you took a regular computer science degree. So for example, we've got here, you have to have a calculus course. If you were taking a regular computer science degree program, you actually have to end up with 3 calculus courses and a matrix algebra course. So essentially what we do in the BCS program is we pare down the sort of science type requirements to be the minimum that you sort of need to get through the program. And then that does restrict some of the courses that you can take, but you do have the option, of course, of taking those courses as electives to build them up to meet prerequisites for other courses. If we look strictly at the computer science aspect of things, the core computer science courses, which I've listed here, those are exactly the same for the BCS program as they are for any computer science program. There's some number of elective courses you have to take. So in computer, you have to take 6 credits here of 300 and 400 level each. That works out to 4 courses. If you were doing a regular computer science program, you would be taking 8 courses. No, sorry, you'd take 6 courses instead of 4. But you don't have to sort of limit yourself to that. You do have the option of taking some additional computer science courses in our bridging module. So there's 5 courses that you have to take that together form some sort of a coherent whole or a theme that is something you want to investigate in a way that you want to apply computer science. So we might see someone coming from commerce wanting to look at and put together a series of courses that involve things like financial technology, or maybe someone else wanting to look at machine learning is really popular right now. So all of those sorts of things. So you kind of tailor that aspect of it to what your interests are, or perhaps bridge back to your existing degree in some way. If you're interested in applying, it's a 2-step process. First, you have to apply to UBC, and then you have to apply to the department. And as part of that application process, you have to provide a statement of purpose or interest, a resume, and the names of 2 referees for us to contact. We then proceed to evaluate all of the applications based on the GPA, something about your academic background. In other words, if you have too many computer science courses, we're not interested in you. We really do want to emphasize the fact that, hey, we're not that interested in computer science. We really are this transitioning from an existing program or degree into technology. So we don't want a lot of computer science in there. We want to see your passion for the area. We really want to see some notion of how you're going to connect to technology and make computer degree. So once all that's done, we rank applications and we make admission decisions. And so that's all I have to say about this. So you can drop by our virtual booth, I should say, and talk to us. Michelle Engel will be joining me there. You can also just simply search for UBC BCS to get some more information. And I've got the whole URL there, which is a little bit ugly. All right, so thanks very much. And hopefully you'll drop by and see us in the session. Now what happened? Okay.
Thank you so much for your time. I know I'm still a tree. Somebody pointed out. There we go. My camera seemed to have some issues, but here I am. Not alone. Tristan wanted to say hello to everybody.
Hello.
For those asking about work-life So thank you everyone for coming. Please do not leave. The sessions, if you look on your left-hand side, underneath stage is sessions, and this is a time that you can go speak to the different employers, the different schools. Oh, and there's my other one. The different schools that you can find your pathways to computer science. It's a fantastic field. I've been in it for longer than I'd like to admit, and it has been absolutely a thrilling place to be. And we do need more women. We do need people of different backgrounds for all of the reasons that our panelists said, as well as for what Allison was saying about how we can actually use technology to make it work for everybody. So please go check out the different educators in BC that have this amazing pathway opportunity. There is a place for you in tech. Also, I do want to point out that Athena Pathways does have scholarships for some of the different courses, specifically for artificial intelligence. So our sponsor, Athena Pathways, which is sponsored by the Digital Supercluster out of BC, does have scholarships for courses at the UBC, SFU, BCIT, and Northeastern. So please take a free course, see whether you like it. You can also see in the chat there was a link to the mentorship program at Athena. So thank you all for your time. I do have, if you do have some questions for me, feel free to put them in the Q&A, but feel free to also just head over to your sessions, and if they're not there, they should be there momentarily. They'll definitely be there by 4:30. So thank you again for your time, and good luck.